the meeting of the June 28th Dog Park Committee meeting, and we have a very skimpy agenda, and we have, I guess, some decisions. We're split on where we go from here, I can tell already. Why don't we get rid of the minutes that we've got, and then we'll talk about the more interesting things. I also have
Get
something
rid
that
of, I
you have to
appreciate
see.
that.
Is there any chance of putting them up?
Can we get the TV on?
Because we don't have,
The computers?
I don't-
I have it on.
I got three,
Oh, okay.
I've got one
Oh,
copy of
it's
each
right
of
there.
the three I did.
And,
I figured,
yeah, there's an attachment, so,
okay.
and you said yours is an attachment?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
Yeah, I don't think we have computers today. I got yours.
That's why I look at my phone.
Yep. I'm gonna read over your shoulder.
Sure.
It's so polite.
Excellent sharer.
What's the earliest of the minutes?
5:10,
5:10,
Now I
yeah.
go back up.
Okay, would everybody look at the 5:10 minutes and see if there are any changes that are in order?
You want me to put the screen on?
Yeah, why don't you? if you
It
could?
was on.
Yeah, yeah, if you would. Hopefully we won't find any reason to.
Knowing me, there's typos, I
Oh,
promise.
knowing me
Promise.
that, knowing me there isn't much written.
Thank you.
Can we put them up?
Is the computer on?
Jim?
It was on, yeah.
I have mail.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was on before,
That's all right. Thank you.
but,
We're having technical difficulties.
Technical difficulties. Does anyone have any motion to make on the minutes of 5:10?
I vote to approve. I move to approve.
A second.
Moved and seconded that we approve the minutes from May 10th. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted. What do we get next?
May 17th?
May 17th. May 17th. Let's take a glance at May 17th. I can tell Lee spelled very well on these. No worries at all.
How can I start?
Can we have a motion on the
And
minutes of May 17th?
move to approve.
Move to approve. Is there a
Second.
sec- There's a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted. Then I guess I have the next three, right?
Yes.
Okay, June 7th, minutes, very brief.
Move to approve?
Move to approve those. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed is unanimously voted. Minutes of Monday, June 12th. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Been
Thanks.
moved and seconded that we approve these minutes. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so voted. And then finally, the minutes of Wednesday, June 14th. And I thought I ought to have those because we had posted the meeting. So even though we did not hold meeting due to lack of quorum, we have minutes on the fact that there was lack of quorum. So can we have a motion on that?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded that we approve the June 14th minutes. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So voted. Okay, that takes care of all our previous minutes, I
Thank you. I'll
think.
send them to the town clerk.
Okay, let me give you the
Thank you.
hard copies then.
Can I put these on town letterhead, like the other copies?
You can, yes, you can put them in
Okay.
on it, on anything.
Thanks.
All right, I guess maybe before anything else, we should say, for the television audience, I know all of you know, that the status of the project now is that we have had approval of option A by the Board of Selectmen. With the caution from the board, unfortunately, I don't think that the tougher of their suggestions got the necessary approval. So the caution is that we need 10%. The difficulty we all recognize is going to be hard to tell what the 10% is of, whether it's of a $100,000 dog park or a $250,000 dog park, and that does not change what Stanton, it changes the amount, but it doesn't change the fact that Stanton would give us funds to support a dog park within those parameters. It does change the amount of 10% that the fur friends have to raise. I looked at their television, at their website before coming, and they have about 2,500 pledged to them, none actually in hand. So that is not our problem, but it is the problem that some of you had said you'd like to work on. You'd like to be off this committee and on the Fur Friends, where you could be an actual fundraiser. As far as our committee is concerned, some of you have said you want to stay on and you'd like to be around when the town meeting is held in September or October or early November, that will be asked to approve funds for the moving of the skate park. Others of you have said you'd like to be dissolved as soon as possible. We cannot vote to dissolve ourselves. We either have to get authority from the selectmen or from the town manager, who has said that she can dissolve us because the charter gives her that authority. She appointed us and she could dissolve us. So at this point, while there's mixed feelings, the better way, I guess the only way you can do, is to write a letter resigning. And that can be addressed either to the town manager or to the Board of Selectmen. I'd advise you to send it to the town manager because the Board of Selectmen during the summer meets not that frequently, and so it may be a while before they got to take that business up. So that is my advice to you. If you decided that everybody wanted to be dissolved, then I would ask the town manager to do it, and she has said she would. Those are the options.
If some of us were to resign, we would have to be replaced, right? If the committee's still held together.
Yeah, if you kept the dog park committee as a voting committee, as per the selectmen's instruction, you would need people from every precinct. I don't know that you would need to keep 7 people. Maybe 5 would be sufficient if they were represented each of the 5 voting precincts. Or if we felt that this committee should stay as a voting committee, then I would guess that they would try and fill the vacant seats the way they filled our seats, that is through a lottery, making sure that each precinct is represented.
So Ron, can I ask you a question, see if
Sure.
I'm following it? Is there an option where either the Board of Selectmen or the town manager decides, thank you, but have a nice day, irregardless if we want to stay on, we want to resign, come here for the, what's...
They could do that. They could, we're their committee, we serve at their pleasure, and so they could say, you've done what we assigned you, so thank you and goodbye. And, they thought that might have been the first action. The letter from Shannon kind of indicated that. It was a thank you note to us.
And in fact, it kind of read as if we were being dissolved
Yes.
without saying so.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it felt like
Yeah.
reading it.
Yeah. They know, Julie knows, that some members of this committee want to be active on the fur friends again. So that is not going to come as any kind of a surprise to her. The fur friends too have been after me saying, when you get rid of those people, because we'd like them on our group. So, you're wanted elsewhere if you do not want to stay on here.
I'm curious if we could have a brief general discussion about what our goals would be for those individuals who would choose not to resign.
Yeah, you can have a discussion, but I don't know if there's an answer to that now, at least because we don't have a chore. Do we say to the selectmen, well, give us another chore? Or do we say to the town manager, give us another task to do? Or do we just say, we want to be a committee, a voting committee, sort of in limbo, so that when the skate park comes up for a vote at the fall town meeting, we will be able to speak as a committee on that.
Given that you've sat through far more town meetings than I think any of us at the table combined, could you just give us a brief overview of the process when there is an article? Who speaks? What is the purpose? Understanding what the nature of the article would be, the allocation of $30,000 for the purpose of relocating a skate park, so the existing location could be for dog park, blah, blah. But what happens by whom and when?
Yeah, there will have to be an article submitted to the Board of Selectmen. Articles for town meeting are submitted to selectmen. Now, whether that will come from what I call the internal dog park committee, that is the town administration, who considers themselves working on the dog park, or whether that will come from the fur friends, or whether, it would not come from us unless we are given that task. But an article is submitted to the Board of Selectmen. It is then sent to the Finance Committee. It is discussed by the Finance Committee, who must make a recommendation on any financial expenditure by the town. So they will make a recommendation. The Board of Selectmen will make a recommendation on the article. So they will, again, vote on whether or not they think it's approved. Why I say probably the logical place is that internal dog committee, because they'll more likely have, than anyone else, have the cost of moving the skate park. Know what needs to be done for that.
You mean the DPW budget?
Yes. Well, if it comes out of the DPW budget, yeah. Yeah, will be in addition to the DPW budget, will be a standalone article, you hope that it is an appropriation from the current budget rather than a borrowing, because a borrowing requires a 2/3 vote at town meeting. Eventually, it'll come to town meeting, the finance committee, and the board of selectmen each board will make a formal recommendation on it at that point. And then the town meeting, and if it is a yearly appropriation, and I don't mean one that's gonna happen every year, I mean that comes out of this year's budget, the current budget. It will have to be a vote of a majority of the 120 town meeting members, of which 80 is a quorum, so
Thank you
that's
for
what
that
you
overview.
have to work with.
Who speaks at the town meeting besides the finance committee, the town manager, anyone to whom a question is posed? Does the committee chair have a speaking part?
I would say not in it. Well, you might. Someone might ask because we're the ones who recommended that it be moved initially. It wasn't our task, really. It was outside our task, but it made possible what we envisioned as option A. So someone's have to say, why'd you do it? And it will be people who are very likely who are not particularly aware of the process that we've gone through. In other words, they'll be getting it for the first time, some of these people. Why do we have to do this? What do the police feel? After all, the Preston Skate Park was a memorial to a fallen member of the police
But
department.
does it get into that type of, this is kind of where it's like, if it's open-ended, then any question under the sun can come in. I mean, to me, the way I would interpret it, and I'm not to say that I'm law, but this is according to Jim's world, is, a vote was taken, a site was selected, right? Now we're moving to town meeting. Now that we heard about people that were for, and we heard people that were against. The decision point now is how much money are we spending to do the skate park relocation. So even if somebody wants to come in and say, I love the dog park. Oh wait, the dog park? No way, not near me. Is that going to be part of the lingo that goes on there? Because I would say, if I was sharing that meeting, I would say, stop. That appreciate you, but that's not what we're here for. We're here to talk about where the funds are coming from, how we would do this, and based on how that's how we would make a decision.
The person who will decide that, and it's decided by one person, will be the moderator of the meeting, Mr. Stencil.
Is latitude
Yes,
typically
stencil.
given?
Latitude is generally given to town meeting members who get up there and say, oh, I wasn't involved in this and I have questions. I don't think it will be given to people because they're neighbors of the skate park. I think it will be because because whoever is asking the question will say that he or she wants to understand, or he or she wants to know why we're doing this to an established memorial to a police officer.
Are town meeting members given preparatory materials, and can we prepare propaganda for them?
Yeah, but for a special town meeting like that, they're apt to get just a kind of a one sheet that shows how the Board of Selectmen recommends and how the Finance Committee recommends on this matter, rather than a lot of material with it. I think it'll just be, we think a dog park is a good idea, and we think the moving of the skate park will enable the dog park to be built, so we are in favor of this appropriation. Or they may say, we think that something should be done to establish a dog park without incurring any cost for the moving of the skate park.
But at the same time, there could be a larger at the last one, there was a huge presentation on that billboard.
Yeah,
There could be more than just
Yeah.
the packet
yeah.
that you get.
But the huge presentation came from the town.
Right.
It wasn't from anyone in the town meeting. It wasn't from a town meeting member who didn't want the billboard.
No, right, I get that. It's just that there is a possibility of more information than just what they get in
Yeah.
the packet.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm sure when they have a cost figure, they'll ask the engineer to say, what is this cost figure based on? They will ask the town manager, what is your opinion? Why are you recommending that? It's a poker game.
I was going to say it's a
You know,
slippery slope.
Yeah, it's a slippery slope. I mean, people,
That's a diplomatic statement.
yeah, I'm more apt to say, don't spend money because I don't want you to spend my money. Well, that's what, and I'll give you the letters that we've got. That's what a lot of them said. So, waste of tax dollars. So,
I mean,
but
usually that
at the
gets
same
finished
time,
refurbishing.
the fur friends or the dog park committee or anyone else can send letters to town meeting members. Town clerk will be very happy to give lists of meeting members and their addresses, and
I think it's
material
online
can
too.
go out there. So I wish I could be more sure. One of the reasons that I'm not sure is that the vote was 3-2. So, to begin with, there were 2 selectmen who were, at least last Monday, not in favor of the project. And as it went along, they got a little more disturbed and a little more determined that the roadblocks tossed up were going to be bigger.
And for the record, it was Selectman Berkey and Selectman Carpenter who voted against.
Yes. Yeah. Now, what they would, what their feeling will be on this in October or whenever the fall town meeting is, I have no idea. I have no idea. And I wish I did have a better idea. I wish I could tell you our odds are such and such.
Do they? Is there like a revote at some point on this, or?
Could the Board of Selectmen revote?
Yes.
If they had 3 members who say, I'd like to revisit the action the board took on 24th of
Because
June.
I mean no disrespect with my statement, but it just seems like the approach with which they are taking is not a logical cause and effect one. But I was not elected to serve as a select person, so that is simply my vote.
Yeah,
But it just does not seem to logically flow with as the town manager said, the moving pieces we have. It just isn't computing.
you would think, perhaps, that a selectman now, on the losing side of an issue like this, would say, well, I'm a member of a 5-person board, and it is my job now to support the action of the majority. And you would think that they would then support what the majority has done to this point. The throwing in of the extra money is the hook. In the best possible world, someone would come to the Fur Friends and give you $50,000 and you could take anything that was over the 10% that you needed and put that towards moving the skate park. You might say at the town meeting, look, we have the skate park there where you say people can watch it all the time, and yet we still have users of the area or users of the park who spray paint graffiti on the monument to the police officer. So my sympathies aren't greatly with skateboarders at the present time.
It sounds like this is going to be an uphill battle.
Well, I don't know. I would like to.
And we shouldn't say that it's the skateboarders that are doing the graffiti, it could be
No, it could
anyone.
be anybody.
It could be anyone doing the
Right,
graffiti.
who did
It's not
the spray
necessarily the
paint.
kids that skate
Right.
at the skate park that do
Right.
that. I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah.
It could be anyone.
Okay, so that's about all I can say from it. Elise had asked if I could get my hands on all of the material that had come in, and I have.
High maintenance, I know.
No, you're not. It was a good thing that you did. This is a brochure put together by one of the abutters who visited another skate park in Yarmouth and who was
Skate
able to
park
get
or dog park?
Dog park, I'm sorry, yeah, dog park, and who was able to get some information on other dog parks and has some information there. I'm sorry, I only have one copy of that.
It's like comparing apples to oranges, though.
I know,
Like,
right.
the one like Yarmouth to.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
Yarmouth, oh, right.
Yes, and it says there's always a road between the dog park and other recreational facilities. Well, you
No.
It's
know,
not true.
I don't know that that's always true.
But that's okay.
I really appreciate you getting
Thank
those
you so much.
areas.
Yeah, this, and again, I only have one and I'll send it around. This is the petition that the abutters signed and turned into the selectmen. I hate to comment on a petition, but I will say this much about it. It says nothing about the skate park. It was before, I think, they realized that the skate park was an argument that they could make. So it just says, we do not support Lemansky Park as the proposed dog park location. We, the undersigned, are concerned citizens who urge our leaders to act now to eliminate Lemansky Park in Auburn as the proposed dog park location. There are 48 signatures on the petition, which represents 24 of the, how many? Nine? Yeah, 96 homes that fell within the area. If you look at it, you will notice very quickly that in some instances, the same person signed for husband and wife. Or they have identical handwriting.
Right.
So it probably does not represent 48 people. Probably represents a little more than half. But you can see who they are. And then I do have for each of you, if you're interested, these are the letters that were sent to the board from the abutters following that hearing. And
Are these the ones that came in like at 4 o'clock the day of the meeting?
No, that
the
was ridiculous.
petition came in very late, and I think, yes, several of the letters did, and some of them might come in after.
Do you get the numbers in support of letters that they received in support?
These are all the letters they get. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I didn't understand.
I know that
No,
a lot
I
of
did not-
people send in support.
Yeah.
So this is you only got the okay.
All I got were the, those that were opposed. And these are
'Cause
their
I know they did
reasons.
receive a large number of in support letters as
Yes.
well.
Yeah.
And there seems to be a trend with a family on Repole Street.
Well, there is, and they'll tell you why. They'll tell you how long they have been there and why they believe that.
I believe that. These are your-
Oh, okay. Thank you.
These are 2 pages,
Thank you.
please, and I think I gave you 2.5.
I got it. Double-sided, got it.
Yeah, it's double-sided with an additional page.
Got
Well,
it.
that's around your house.
And I give you
What
these,
is it?
in particular, this, so that you might see what arguments might be raised
That's just one.
at the town meeting. You know, I'm sure that some of these people will probably go to the town meeting and,
Yeah, like Julie brought up a lot of these insults that were in the letters.
yes,
And
yes, they
in the
were.
last meeting, and she clarified that a lot of this wording was incorrect and inappropriate.
Yeah. I think there are 4 in all. You all did get the letter from Megan, right? You don't need a copy of that. do you?
Who's
You know what I'm
Megan?
talking about? I'm sorry, from Shannon Regan.
Yes.
Yes.
That's just reporting the change in the offices of the Fur Friends. So I guess that is all of the info that we have from the people who opposed this.
Here's your original paperback. And I am noting that at least one of the individuals who authored some of this correspondence is in fact a town meeting member.
Yes. Yeah, and his wife is. The
Splendid.
two of them are.
What is this 1%? How are they getting 1%? Says, why would we be doing it or proposing it at all if less than 1% of the town's 2,300 registered dogs and owners are going to use it anyway? Where are they coming up with that data point?
I think probably at the hearing where we talked, we said they won't all be there at one time.
I mean,
We're lucky if 1%
that's
of
just
them
like,
is there at
that's
one
just
time.
like how not all the kids in the town are at the playground at the
Yeah.
same time.
Yeah.
Right.
But in fact, 2,300 registered dogs, likely more unregistered dogs, would reflect significantly
A
more than 1%.
significant number of the families.
A lot of stretches.
Yeah.
Well,
But like I said, they also did receive a large number of letters in support. And this only
Yeah.
reflects
Yeah.
the small number of people who
Who are
wrote
opposed and who-
opposing letters.
we're opposed enough to spend the time.
Yes.
You know, it's easy to sign a petition if someone comes to your door. Doesn't ask you anything other than to sign a
Or
petition.
give you any information or.
Yeah, so that's why you get more people, I think, on petitions than you do writing letters. So in fact, that reference, the number of letters of people in support of the park is, you know, kind of unusual and different and astonishing.
And if I may say, I would like to, speaking for myself, thank the town manager for preparing the information to provide the factual data
Yeah,
points.
she did a lot of
and
research.
response.
Yeah,
and,
she
and,
had
did, and
really-
came up with a lot of responses, and that was really great.
That's very much appreciated.
So, I guess it comes down to this point: are you going to ask Julie to dissolve us?
You don't want to be
I did not
dissolved.
say that. I am
Well,
throwing that
no, that's
suggestion.
all right.
I'm throwing
Are
that
there
out.
others who do not want to be dissolved?
The only, well, I guess,
I don't know that I would
let's
say I
agree on the
don't want
purpose
us
of
to be
staying in
involved.
business for a second, right? What I'm hearing is the only opportunity that, well, like, unless we go back to the board and ask for some additional, homework assignments, right? Which we could potentially influence by at least calling them out as opposed to receiving them. Then it becomes a matter of, do they want us to have some of us around as a safety measure for the town meeting later on in the year in the event that something comes up that they potentially can't answer amongst themselves?
I mean, we
That-
also all have this information as private citizens as well, rather than as a committee.
I understood.
Yeah.
I'm just throwing it out there what that's it.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
And I would agree with you, Jim, and I would also agree with you, Sarah. I wonder, Mr. Proudy, are private citizens recognized in the same way that committee members are recognized at the town meeting? And when I say in the same way, I do not mean with preferential treatment, I mean in order of speaking.
In
Because I know
order-
time is limited.
Yeah, in order of speaking, the people who get priority are the town meeting members
Yeah.
themselves
And
Yeah.
whatnot.
and the town officials. Anyone who served on this committee who waved his hand around would get recognized eventually by the moderator, I'm sure. And they could say, I was a member of the dog park committee. This is why we voted, although that's a tough thing to say.
Right.
This is why I voted in favor of option A. You know, that would be within your prerogative, I would think. And again, it's not an exact science, as you can see from this meeting, that town government doesn't run exactly, so you can't say Chet Stencil will recognize you and give you 3 minutes to speak, and he won't mind if you say, I was a member of the dog park committee. On a lot of these town meetings, you may have heard the motion being made, I move we end discussion.
Right.
So that someone who's anxious to get out of there and get home will say, no more discussion on this issue, and usually that vote passes, particularly if it's near the end of the evening, so you might not be able to have a chance to speak. You know, I would hope that you would.
I don't know that I would need a chance to speak because, I mean, as we saw at the last meeting, I don't do well when speaking in front of large crowds from the microphone.
Fine.
But, as a citizen, I could still work with Julie
Yeah.
and with Bill Coyle on
Yeah.
the plan for the skate park and preparing the data for the meeting. That I don't necessarily need, we don't necessarily need to be a committee to do that. I mean, we can as a committee, but we can also do that as private citizens.
So you would volunteer to do
Oh,
that
yeah.
task as a private
It's already
citizen?
it's already in my head as a plan to do. But before that, the Fur Friends would have to raise a significant amount of money before the fall
Indeed.
anyway, so that's the next step. Because if they don't, then there's no reason to even talk about the skate park.
And your presence on this committee, as with all of us,
Yes.
is the impediment to fundraising.
Yes.
Now, in talking about whether to dissolve the committee or whether to stay on until the vote in the fall, my understanding is that this was only a 6-month term anyhow,
Yes.
which would expire at the end of this week.
We would have to renew.
So what do we
Yeah.
do?
Well, tell me your interest, and I will try to see that it's done. If you want to stay on, I think I'll speak to Julie. I'll say, do you want to extend the terms of those who want to stay on? Would you dissolve without them submitting resignations? Those who want to go to work for the Fur Friends or in some way that they feel would be in conflict if they were still on this committee. So, whatever you would like.
Yeah, I would appreciate if you'd speak to Julie and see what she had in mind. And I'd love to hear back, 'cause she may not even want to, extend this committee for another 6 months, because and we don't have to re-swear in and everything else, so.
I guess my concern becomes, which was not the perspective with which I came in this evening. I came in saying, I think we need to dissolve because we were not being productive. My concern is if we make the request to be dissolved, and that is granted upon us, then we disappear. And yes, as private citizens, we can advocate. But between now and whenever the town meeting is in the fall, I don't have a crystal ball. It would be great if I did, but I don't. So I don't know what's going to happen. And again, going back to the town manager's words, the moving pieces and how they will align. And it makes me slightly uncomfortable to not have a plan B for a strong system to advocate for this project besides the Fur Friends. If that makes sense. We
And
put in a
surely,
whole-
let me be as clear as I can here. I'm sure that at that meeting, representatives of the Fur Friends will be allowed to speak, so.
I feel like we've invested so much time, in fact, more time than I think we anticipated investing, that I would hate to see anything within our control, which is very limited. In fact, we have no control. But I would hate to see the moving pieces pause.
I think it's a valid point. I mean, I go back to what I've said since day one, right? What's the success criteria here, right? To me, it was a park that got approved, that got implemented, that was accessible and usable to anybody in the town that wanted to get there. And yeah, we had a charter, but I never felt good about that charter because I thought the charter was extremely limiting and really wasn't going to get us to end of job, right? So the question now to me becomes is, okay, well, what's success right now? How do we get, how do we increase the chances of success? And to me, it's three ways. One, you need to see what is the source of truth with respect to how this 20 or 30 grand skate park relocation is going to happen. Because as I said before, we sat here a couple of meetings ago where the town came in and spoke very confidently, was my perception, that they felt that they had a pretty strong solution on how they would be able to go ahead and deal with whatever costs were associated with moving the skate park. Then, you go back, fast forward a little bit more into the future, we get there, and the Board of Selectmen meeting is, and all of a sudden, Dan Carpenter was very, said some things, I don't know if he was right, I don't know if he was wrong, but he was basically kind of, questioning that, this nice package, it seemed like it was a nice package, wasn't necessarily as wrapped up and nice as maybe, we all thought. And I also just saw no evidence at that meeting that the town stepped up and said anything about, well, gee, Dan, you misinterpreting it this, or Dan, you're right. I mean, I didn't see any type of, response there from what I saw, and I kind of felt that, none of us should be answering any questions about the skate park. It was not something that we put on the table. It was brought to us as an opportunity, as an option. The way they pitched it to us, it sounded reasonable, it sounded doable, and it was
paid for.
And it was a big, that their weight was a big, contributor, at least my feeling is, to our decision, right? It wasn't an option any of us knew about until they brought it to the table,
They brought it to the table.
okay? So I really feel that, in the interest of this project, wherever you sit, whether you're a private person, you're interested, whether you're in Fur Friends, whether you're in a committee that exists or not going to exist, I think it's important that the town put forth in writing how are you going to do this so that people can talk apples to apples to apples, whereas I kind of sense that we've got apples and pumpkins and everything else. Okay?
It's
That to me is critical, because then you're going to be able to ask yourself, well, does fundraising, if whatever they're proposing is such a reach and highly risky, does that then say, is it worth going ahead and proceeding with fundraising? Or are we going to continue, people that are invested in this are going to continue to sink more time and more of their efforts into something which potentially the end result is that much further from not being realized. So I think it's great to get mobilized and have discussions around fundraising. I know I've seen evidence that it's already started, but before you put the gas, all the way on the floor, I think what's this package that the town is going to come back to the town meeting, because you got to kind of then put on your I'm a resident hat. So if I'm sitting in the town meeting, is what they're proposing sound reasonable? And personally, I can't answer that question one way or the other, because I don't know what the answer is anymore, because I saw people come in here that said, this looks like we can do this, and I've seen the price jump around. I've heard, high is 50, 60, then it went down to 15, 20, now it's peaked up to 30. So I'm having a hard time understanding where's all this going. So I think that's a critical piece for anybody who wants to support this project in its current form. Now, if there's another, opportunity do we have to go back to the drawing board, which I know many of us don't want to really hear, and maybe some of us may not want to participate in that. But I think we've got to understand what that plan is, and is it reasonable? Because if it's not, then you can fundraise, unless you got to fundraise the full 300 grand to get the dog park. I mean, you're more or less just spinning your wheels in the mud, and it's not going to be worthwhile. And then, and so to me, if you get through, if it's a reasonable plan, Then you move to step 2, and step 2A and 2B, which is let's continue to, build a communication plan, keep it in the forefront of people's minds through Facebook postings, whatever other means of communication we want to utilize. And then you start seeing who else you can get involved to help with the fundraising efforts and keeping that going alive. And keep on having people, write in stuff so that you can continue to build support. So at the, best case scenario, when you hit that town meeting, you go in there with, okay, I've got what appears to be a solid plan from the town's perspective on how to go ahead and deal with the relocation of that skate park. I have X amount of dollars procured by Fur Friends, and I got a strong contingency because it's been kept in people's minds over the summer where everybody likes to check out from the real world, including myself. And now you have a better chance of potentially pushing it through the pipe at that point. And you don't have the, to me, if you don't have the 3-legged table, you don't have one of each leg there, and you pull one out, there's a good chance the whole table falls over. That's my 10 cents. John, you quote me, I want to, talk about royalties. Is that reasonable? I mean, I'm throwing it out there.
I feel it's very reasonable.
So I don't know, the other interesting, I don't know, if anyone has a Fur Friend related update of any sorts.
In an unofficial capacity.
Unofficial capacity, or for Facebook, interpretations of what's been posted out there. Oh,
Do you propose any action based on what you, based on those opinions, or?
I would propose the following. One, is it official? Is Julie gone ahead with? Is the purpose of that love letter we got? Is the purpose of that to basically disband us officially? I mean, is my first question. And if it is, well then, it sounds like, Ron, correct, keep me honest, that if that's what they've already decided, that's in their purview to do so, correct?
Yes, they could disband us at any time. Either the selectman or the town manager could disband us. I look at that more in that they had heard from members on the committee that they would like to be active on Fur Friends, and therefore would be glad when this committee was done so that they could
Okay,
go
I wasn't aware of that.
and work on the Fur Friends. So I would,
So I would say maybe a way to frame it is, okay, we're kind of on the fence with respect to disbanding, right this second versus, waiting a few more, till we get some more information type of a thing. Once you give us that information, that would really help with us in a decision on whether or not we keep the doors open or we, turn up the lights.
Can you find out from Julie whether or not she's interested? Because, like I said, we only swore in for 6 months.
That was not my understanding. It was until end of project.
Oh, see, I was given a date.
I don't believe I
it was a
was.
6 month.
Yeah.
Some of us weren't officially sworn in, so I don't even know how that plays into all of this.
Right.
I won't go there. I'll throw that out there.
Too late.
a lot of this would depend on what how the Fur Friends would like to use people on this group.
Yeah.
Do you think they have a plan that would utilize whatever talents there are in this group?
With all due respect, I think that's up to us as individuals
Yes,
to
right.
determine.
Right.
I mean, I don't fundraise. As a personal
Yeah.
philosophy, I don't do it.
Yeah.
I can say through conversations with members of the Fur Friends that when the withdrawal of 10% happened at that meeting, it was not representative of every member of the Fur Friends, and so the group is continuing on with their
Yep.
promise of the 10%.
With other people.
With
in charge.
other members in charge.
Based
good to know.
on your conversations with Fur Friends, do you, and I'm not even sure I want to ask a question, but I will, does the new version of Fur Friends stand by the option A only?
No. I believe.
Could you-
I can't say that officially because I can't speak for them, but through conversation, I don't believe that is true.
So you don't, I
They're
just wanna
not
make
sa-
sure
they're
I'm
not
saying it the
saying
same way.
it's- Sorry, they're, as from my conversations with those still involved,
Uh-huh.
I believe they are not saying they only support option A. Not necessarily that they don't support that as the better option, but I don't believe it's ultimatum, if you will.
I understand, thank you.
Because here's another thing, to that point, right? I personally was never a fan of just, it sounded like, I don't know if it was folks in this room, but it sounded like we were very quick, some folks were very quick to discount option B. And I never thought that that was the right thing to do, because, yeah, is any location perfect, 100% of the time? Not really. I mean, there's always, pros and cons. And I felt that option A and option B both had both of them, but to quickly just say option B is, because this, I thought it was a little premature. So if option B is still out there, right, and that doesn't obviously involve a move of a skate park, then the road to the goal just got a lot, more easier to envision type of a thing.
Using, the creative agriculture, that's not the word, landscaping, for the barriers and et cetera. I mean, there would be alternatives, understanding that's not what selectmen voted for.
Let me
Right.
then say what I would recommend you tell me to do. I would recommend you tell me, after I have gone to that place and have burned myself royally, I will go to see the town manager and say, dissolve the committee because we run out in June anyways. There are members of this committee that would like to be involved in any kind of group that would lead to improving the process that we have.
That's
If
not-
you see a use for us, call on us first. And I know that doesn't satisfy everybody,
No.
but it gets those who want to go right on the preference now and raise money. It gives them the opportunity. It gives others the opportunity to work in various ways, to work with that committee that's going to be designing rules for the park, that will be designing the park facilities itself, that will look at, if you had option B, how you would screen option B from the dog park. I will tell her that there are people who would like to do that. There are people who would like to remain active until this project is complete. By complete meaning till the gates, those double gates can open.
So what I'm hearing you say is that there are those of us who wish to immediately become involved with the Fur Friends in whatever capacity.
And they will be allowed to if we're dissolved, yeah.
Why don't we make this simple, stupid? Can we just show of hands of people that were considering other options? We'll just leave it, that level, right? Versus potentially interested with keeping the committee involved in some capacity with the potential that, maybe the lights get turned on for whatever reason downstream. I mean, those are more or less the two
Yeah.
choices we got, right?
Yep.
And three could be undecided.
You could keep the committee together and the people that want to join the Fur Friends can resign. And they can immediately be
Well, I
with the
wouldn't say-
Fur
I mean,
Friends
just-
too. So that's another, I'm just saying there is another option.
What's that?
So I'm just saying there was another option. There
What's
is the option to stay together.
To stay
and whoever
together
wants
and
to leave
let
can
the
leave.
ones who want to go on the Fur Friends.
But, okay, but we still need a quorum, right?
So I'm just saying that
Right.
there's another
But
option.
again,
That's all I'm saying is there's another option, people.
That's why I asked earlier that if people decide if he would be replaced or not.
Okay, so to make, again, get back to simple, stupid, so we're talking about more real possibilities as opposed to abstract things out in space. Can we get a show of hands of people who are considering, I'll use the word considering, other options? Okay, so that's something.
What other options? Dissolve.
No, the other options outside of keeping the committee alive and kicking.
Oh, yeah, well, yeah, if there's, so then
Because if all of us want to dissolve, there's no point in a conversation, I guess, with,
That's where I'm going.
Yeah.
That's where I'm going.
There, and
And undecided was a choice, correct?
yes.
Undecided's a choice, but which can change because once you kind of see where we stand, then that might sway you where you want to go.
Right. Ambivalent to lease.
Right. That's what's wrong.
Absolutely.
all right,
I like
we've
this.
got to get out of here because we have another meeting.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.